So, this is the lowest moment of my life so far, but hopefully the start of something new. I'm making this video mostly to hold myself accountable, but also to try to start a series where I document my journey of trying to become a professional musician at the very old, elderly, really basically senile age of 31. I have now tried to make this video twice. I've recorded this whole video twice, but the audio on my phone is so bad that it was just unacceptably horrible. So I brought out the Zoom H4n, and if this doesn't work, nothing will. The phone I'm recording this on is like 5 years old. Right now in my life, I'm broke. I've got no prospects. In the last year, virtually like every single aspect of my life has gone down the drain. My health, my job, finances, my house. And now, the band that I had spent the last 7 months trying to put together has dissolved without doing a single decent recording, really kind of leaving me with a big old waste to the last 7 months. So today I want to give a little bit of my backstory, how I got here, and what I plan to do in the future to fix it and achieve my dream of making a living playing music. Because at this point in my life, it's either making music or die trying. It's really that serious to me. I've gone back and forth a couple of times, but I've now come to the conclusion that there's just nothing else in my life that I'm going to be able to do and feel good about, being happy doing. So, I've always wanted to be a musician from a very young age. When I was 7 or 8 years old, the movie School of Rock came out. And that movie had a very big impact on my life. All I wanted when I was 8 years old was a guitar, but my parents wouldn't get it for me. But then finally, when I was 12, I finally got into music lessons, guitar lessons. And I'll never forget the night laying in bed after I had my first guitar lesson. And I was laying there thinking to myself, I'm a musician, I'm a musician now. I'm somebody. I finally have become that thing that I've always wanted to do. And so I was very eager. I picked up guitar pretty quickly. But also, unfortunately, around, during that time, I was also very interested in drugs because I idolized people, musicians, artists who had all these terrible mental and drug problems. And I really believed that that was the way to be successful. I thought that, I had to do the same. And I also wanted to, or I was very curious. I'm an extremely, curious individual. When I read that psychedelics exist, of course I want to try it. But, so anyway, I started playing guitar at 12, took it up pretty quickly, and then when I was 15 is when I formed my first band and also started getting really heavily into drugs, which started, pretty quickly. I was addicted to opioids by the time I was 16. So I was doing a lot of stuff with music, though, in my late teens, started high school, in a couple of bands, recorded a lot of different CDs. When I was 17, I got my large multi-track recording machine, which is still what I use to record music. I don't use a DAW or a computer. I'm just used to using my machine now, and it's more difficult, but it's also more authentic. So I was making a lot of music, doing stuff, but I didn't understand how to be successful back then. I didn't understand the path, what I need to do, the amount of effort that was necessary in order to be successful. And then, of course, that combined with just doing all kinds of different drugs and whatnot. Eventually, after high school, some people go away to college and blah, blah. Things started to fizzle out with the bands. And I kind of lost my motivation slowly over time, starting, around 19 or 20. And eventually, by the time I was 22 or 23, I was addicted to heroin. For the last couple years prior to that, I had been trying to record this album. It was I don't know, my third or fourth album, with a different iteration of the band. And we worked on this album for like 2 years. I thought it was going to be this big, great masterpiece and all that, but I was being really perfectionist about it, taking a really long time on each song. And eventually I just had a few songs that I couldn't figure out how to finish. I just couldn't get them right the way I wanted them to be. And eventually I just kind of gave up working on it. It became this monumental task in my brain that was going to be something that was just so difficult to do that it was like borderline impossible. So by the time I was 22 or 23, I was addicted to heroin, and I mostly stopped playing music or working on the album much at all. And that period started a long period in my life where I didn't really play music at all for several years. But when I was 25, I got off heroin, went to rehab, and I went back to school, which ended up being a mistake because I really wasn't actually that interested in what I was doing. So I got off heroin 25. I went to school for a couple of years, kind of, really knew that it wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I dropped out of that school. And then around 2020 is when I left college and also started doing DoorDash and Uber, which for a while was a really good gig that was a pretty good job for me for a good number of years until it went downhill, which it has nowadays. But I started doing that in 2020, and I started making decent money. And then I bought my first house here in Flint, Michigan, in 2021. And then for the first time, I wasn't in an apartment anymore for in several years, so I could get the drum set out again, and I finally started playing again. Now, prior to this, I would pick up the guitar sometimes, but I just wasn't feeling it. It just I couldn't write anything. I couldn't write any songs for years. I just couldn't come up with anything that was like really interesting or compelling. I felt bored with the guitar. I just had no interesting ideas. It was just this gray. But then in 2021, when I was around 27, I got into that house and I got my drum set up again, and I started playing guitar again. And all of a sudden, before I knew it, after playing for a few months, all of a sudden, these songs just started coming out of me. Songs that were so much better than anything I ever thought I could possibly write before. For my whole life, I've wanted to write great songs. I've looked at my heroes and artists and other people who have written great songs, and I would always just be like, why can't I do that? Why can't I write a song that is on that level? And for a long time, it just seemed like I just couldn't do it. Like during this period where I wasn't making any music at all, I certainly kind of had this thought that like maybe I'm just not as good as those other people. Maybe I just don't have it. But then all of a sudden, in 2021, just song after song started coming. Songs that were just at, a quality that I'd finally really achieved my dream of like writing something that I think is truly great. And so then it started then, and it kind of kept going, for several years. I was just writing quite a few songs, doing stuff. I was practicing the drums. I took up the drums seriously for the first time. Really like trying to practice every day, type of thing, and taking it seriously. And I was writing all these good songs, but I wasn't actually really taking action for quite a few years, from about 2021 to 2023. For a while, I was still just doing the DoorDash and writing songs and playing music at home, but not doing anything with it and not finishing the album. Every time I thought about finishing that old album, it was still like this mental barrier in my head where I just felt like it's impossible. But then finally, the time came around of late 2023, and I was born in late 1993, so you know what that means. It means that I was about to turn 30, and that is really what kicked me into gear. Unfortunately for a lot of my 20s, I just kind of felt like I'm still young, I still have time, I'll do it later, I'll finish that album, later, and I'll really try to make my career. But once you're looking at 30 coming at you in a couple of months, all of a sudden I really realized that it's like this is now or never. I can't be doing DoorDash for the rest of my life, obviously, which I never planned on, but it was really now or never. So in the fall of 2023, I quit doing everything. I stopped doing my job. I started living off savings, and I started just pursuing music full time. trying to record, playing all the instruments myself, trying to, just do it all myself. I got my recording equipment back up and running. I finished the album. I was making stuff regularly on social media. And I was starting to get a little bit of traction. Nothing big. The album didn't, blow up or anything close to that, which is what I didn't expect it to. But I was just making music, putting out content for several months, and I was gaining, gaining followers over time. Slowly, but we were starting to get somewhere. But now during this time, I was practicing like a ridiculous amount. I was working on music like 12, 15 plus hours a day for a long time. I was practicing the drums for 2 hours a day. I was practicing the guitar and singing for 2 hours a day. I was practicing my fingerstyle guitar for 2 hours a day, plus recording and making the content, shooting music videos and all that stuff. I was really, grinding. And unfortunately, what ended up happening, of course, is that I burned out. I ended up messing up my shoulder from doing all this practice, repetitive motion of playing the drums and the guitar. And that's when everything really started to go downhill. So it was early in 2024 when this started happening. I had all these plans in 2024 to put out all this music, all these plans of these songs I was going to record. But then in early 2024, my shoulder just, completely gave out. And before I knew it, I couldn't play music at all. And I'd only managed to release like 1 or 2 songs of my new songs that had been written in the last couple of years, not just the really old album. And it got so bad that eventually everything just came to a halt. I couldn't play at all. I went to physical therapy for it twice, and I've been to physical therapy before. I've been in the habit of exercising and doing physical therapy exercises every day for many years now. But the stuff that they were doing for my shoulder, which is an impingement, is what I have, I just wasn't working. And for a long time, I couldn't even play at all. This coincided with some annoying people moving in down the road with me, blasting a subwoofer really loud, and all, random times, day and night. A lot of things just started completely going downhill right around that time in mid-2024. But also, finally, in mid-2024, I did have one good thing happen in that I met a drummer who wants to play punk rock music and liked what I was doing. It's kind of like a folk punk thing. And I thought that was, going to be it. I thought that was going to be the project, the band that I was able to take to success, But it didn't work out. It's a similar problem that I've had many times in the past, that, I want to put everything that I have into this, and the other person just doesn't feel the same way. And so now, after 6 or 7 months of putting effort into that, that's also fizzled out, and I've gotten nothing from it. That, along with DoorDash and Uber completely tanking and dropping off a cliff and just being terrible now, especially just in the last couple months. They've been getting worse for the drivers for many years. The pay just gets lower and lower. But specifically just in the last couple months, it's just gotten awful. You just can't even make any money doing it at all. So, really, the band that I was trying to form over the last few months was really like the only good thing that I had going in my life. And now that's also gone. But I'm not here to complain about it. I'm not here to cry about it. I'm here to start something new and realize that now that I'm once again alone, I can really take this project anywhere that I want to. And so today is the beginning of that. My plans going forward are to try to record these songs as well as I can, just in demos. I've realized that I just can't do professional quality recordings with the equipment that I have, so I'm just going to record as well as I can, play all the instruments myself, and just call them demos, and do anything that I can to just try to get these songs out there. And then the other thing I'm doing tomorrow is I'm going to record a video for NPR's Tiny Desk contest. I recorded one last year. It's not that good. I kind of rushed the song. It was kind of also last minute, as this is going to be this time, because the drummer that I was playing with was supposed to record the video with me this last week, but that didn't end up happening. So now it once again is going to be last minute. I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. But yeah, I'm sure there's probably plenty of things I'm forgetting here, but this for me is a new start. I've many times in the past done the thing where I try to do YouTube for a little while, but then it fizzles out. You kind of lose your motivation because you're not seeing any results anytime quickly, This time around, I'm just going to do this until I'm successful. It's my only hope. I believe in these songs. I believe that these songs I've written are really special. And hopefully by tomorrow, I'll be able to at least record myself playing one live decently enough. So, I appreciate anybody that wants to come along for the journey. I'm going to try to document this process as much as I can. I'm going to be getting back into the social media stuff and whatnot. And I'm going to find a way to get these songs out into the world. Thank you. Experience doing it, but everything's going to be a learning experience. I'm going to get better at it as I go. So, anybody, appreciate anybody who actually stayed to listen to this whole story. I am off heroin, by the way, since there's a cat. I'm taking care of a cat. She is, okay, come on. Yeah, I know, she doesn't want to be held. Fine, now you're going to be in the video. This key too. Okay, it's not my cat. I'm watching my aunt and uncle's cat.